the game of rugby is struggling a little bit with, I guess, a personality crisis, Husey. And I say that because I just don't think we have enough characters in the game at the moment. And I think the media wraps himself around that. And you can see it with a player like Owen Farrell, especially, I think, who's a talented player, but is very cut and dry. Like, that is who Owen Farrell is. He can't show much personality, and if he does, he seems to get judged for it as well. So I've watched pretty much all of Full Contact, the new doco on Netflix of the Six Nations from last year. Now, I do want to just kind of put a point there that I think because it was a Rugby World Cup year, there was a lot of players in a very serious mode. But what kind of shone through to me was we do need a bit more characters in the game. When I watched that compared to watching Drive to Survive, you just don't have as much players being themselves, like especially, I guess, F1, very much an individual. I know there's teams, but very much an individual sport where you are your own brand, whereas international rugby, you're a team and a whole system getting brought up. And I just sat there and I watched, and you saw the likes of Alice Genge, and I thought Andrew Porter were very good, but then you get coaches like Gatland who, for the lack of a better word, are a bit like a wet towel, and can't show much emotion anyway, and then go on like that. And it just to me was like, it didn't quite capture me the way the F1 did, and it's not going to capture audiences like that. Yeah. Because honestly, if you can even remember who's the last great character you can remember in rugby, because I've got one on the tip of my tongue.
God, that is the honey badger, I guess.
Exactly the one I was thinking. Like, the only one who you can really say stands out and goes, like, that was a character. Joe Wheeler, who has moved into New Zealand kind of sports media now, was a bit of a character in Highlanders rugby, and Highlanders always seem to have a good couple of characters in their team. But I just sit here and I go, we just don't have enough of those characters to build excitement. You want to sit there and watch a docu like that and support someone. And now we've got this Australian one from the Rugby World Cup that's coming out that I'll be interested to see how players are like. I guess, what are your thoughts on that, Husey?
You've got the building blocks in the Australian one, particularly with Taniela Tupou. He's got the ability to be a character, and like, he did those ads a few years ago for the Wallabies, like promoting the upcoming Rugby Championship and the England tour, which was really good. He went and did the whole high tea thing, and I thought it was really funny. So there's opportunities for characters. Nick White is a character, but he's a halfback. All the halfbacks are, in their own minds, the funniest guys in the world. So I think you've got building blocks there. But yeah, I remember back in the day when we had great rugby commercials. Matt Giddo, everyone doing the side lean as he does his kicks, and then they had all the ads about it. I think it was like a Wolf Blast wine ad or something, and everyone's tilting their wine glasses so you see the level tilted, stuff like that. Phil Waugh was another great one. I remember he did commercials with like his ice baths and stuff. Like, you have rugby has got the people in there to be characters, but it's about showing them, right? It's about making it about more than just who they are on the field. It needs to be about what they're like off the field as well, right? You look at rugby league, forever the comparison for rugby union, right? The characters of that game: Jerome Luai, right? Brandon Smith, right? Cameron Munster, right? They've got their cheeky personalities that they let come through. The Matty John show does a great job of highlighting those characters when they come on the show and things like that. So I think you need to have more stuff like that for rugby to really highlight these players, and they can do more on their social media and stuff as well. Like, I think it's a concerted effort all around. I agree with you that the Full Contact is a good starting point. I think the Wallabies documentary would be a good starting point as well. Keep it going, right? Keep it going. I'd love to see a 2024 Wallabies documentary, right? Almost Hard Knocks. I'd love Hard Knocks style thing every year for the Wallabies or for the All Blacks or for these teams, like, get a good narrator in there. See if Leif Schreiber surely must be available. Like, he only does Hard Knocks once a year. Like, he's got to be available to do other documentaries as well, right? If you get the voice of Hard Knocks, like, imagine Aaron Rodgers, we know, is a Leif Schreiber fan. He loves hearing him do Hard Knocks, right? So Aaron Rodgers a tuner. You get Aaron Rodgers posting about rugby. You go Rugby Australia. We've got these ideas, But yeah, imagine a Hard Knocks style thing where Hard Knocks typically does show off teams that haven't done so well. They don't typically show off teams with new coaches. I think that's one of the rules, is it can't be a first-year head coach. But it's often teams that have had dysfunction and how they're building up from it, how they're handling, the weight of expectations. How, imagine that for Rugby Australia this year, right? Joe Schmidt coming in, Michael Hooper, exiled last year. He's gone to rugby sevens. What's his role in the Wallabies this year going to be? How are they going to have him around in any capacity? You had Carter Gordon, who, essentially is this. This might sound harsh, but he's sort of the Zach Wilson of Australian rugby, right? Really high hopes for him. Didn't deliver on them in the World Cup, and I don't think that all falls square on his shoulder. And just like with Zach Wilson, you had Adam Gase back there as well. What is he doing this year? How's he going to overcome his struggles? You've got your veteran coming off an injury, Alan Alatoa, right? Huge injury to come back from, especially from a prop. You've got the drama in the background of Australian rugby needed to do well after such a poor performance in the World Cup. You've got Super Rugby that can dictate players' availability and whatnot. I mean, you can also see how the players navigate through Super Rugby into the Wallabies period, right? There's so much content that's there for the taking. There's so much there. Like, imagine you had a weekly series on Stan in the style of Hard Knocks, where it goes over basically the previous week's game, like in the preparation leading up for the game and things like that. I think that would be immense. I think that would do wonders for the game, because I look at a lot of these rugby players and we really don't know much about them compared to your NFL players, your NRL players, NBA players, right? We don't know what type of bloke they are, right? Which makes it hard to be really passionate fans of any one player unless they're exceptional. Me with Michael Hooper, you with Artie Savia, right? It makes it hard to form attachments to these players except for what they do on the field. But that's not what fans always want. They want to form attachments to these players off the field. Charlie Gamble 2 years ago, when he sort of burst on the scene on the field, but he was also quite a personality as well with the mustache, right? And he was active on social media and stuff like that. He played into it, right? This is what we need more of. It's a good starting point, but we need more than that. We need to see these players not just as players, but as people as well. And that's what will get fans really invested in them.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think a yearly Hard Knock series on one of the international teams would be fantastic. And I think you'll see more and more, as you said, like the Six Nations with this. Like, I would love to see the Rugby Championship or even a Super Rugby doco series like this on a team, and specifically looking at things like that. And I think you could do it so well, and you could allow these personalities to come up. And I have to be honest, it's hard because I know the All Blacks do this no dickheads approach, and sometimes being a character makes you out to look like a dickhead when you're not a dickhead. But as much as the All Blacks do that for success, and I get that, there also has to be some fun in rugby. The reason everyone plays and watches rugby is for enjoyment. And sometimes you do need, as much as you can't be a complete and utter dickhead, you do need a little bit of dickhead into you to have a bit of fun. And like Taniela Tupou doing those ads is not him being a dickhead, but you know what I mean? Like it's just having fun, like
it's got some
enjoying
personality.
it. Yeah. And it's like we need that, and I'm highly critical of the All Blacks because they just, I don't know what they do, but as soon as you step into that All Blacks team, it's like they just go and zap their personality from you. They've got some machine where they go, yep, you're now an All Black, you're wearing the black jersey, you're now just an All Black, that's all you have. And you've seen it like Rieko Ioane, to me, is a massive personality. He is a Jerome Luai of the All Blacks. Like, he has sat there and on the field has told Welsh pricks that they're never going to beat the All Blacks. He's done lots of things like that. Absolutely loves talking smack. And it doesn't get highlighted that much because they've definitely told him to wing back on it and just focus on his rugby. And it's like, as much as you want that, I want to see Rieko show that he's the best and tell everyone he's the best. And I just kind of go, I just feel like, we lose that because we, especially as the All Blacks, who I have to hold as the ones that are the worst at it, they just drag them and say, nah, you can't be anything but an All Black.
I've got another great example for you, right? Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Incredible opportunity to bring a lot of NRL fans into supporting rugby. Heard nothing from him while he was in Super Rugby. He just there played rugby. This is a guy that was a Dally M medalist, you know, grand final winner, one of the best players to play NRL, right? And we heard nothing about it. We heard nothing from him. He's just there. He was basically told, we can only assume, come in, put your nose to the pavement and work hard. And that's it. And that's, that might be good for him to, that might have been, I think that's still part of it. Yeah, for sure. But this is a guy that was beloved in NRL circles. Everyone knew what an amazing guy he is. We heard no stories about him, heard next to no interviews from him at all. It's a really wasted opportunity.
Yeah, how they now saying that as well, that you've brought that up, how they didn't do a doco series on him, and I'm sure he wouldn't have been against it. That would have been a great brand thing for him about that transition. This was, like you said, one of the best rugby league players making the decision to come across again. We are getting there, but we're just missing opportunities. And I guess it probably comes down to a little bit of funding and risk-taking, like who's willing to go out of the way and do that. But I think eventually we need these characters if we're going to survive as a sport. We need to be able to go, yes, this is who we are, and we are. And I look at England, Marcus Smith is a very flamboyant English 10, isn't he? Like you're not used to that. You're used to your Johnny Wilkinsons, who all they do is practice their drop goal kicking, and George Forwards, and you've got this new breed coming in. So hopefully something like that can get around. The Finn Russell, who's you can tell is a character, like loves a beer off the pitch, loves anything but sometimes rugby, but he also is a great rugby player, and we need more of that, and he stars in the full contact. So I'm hoping we can build on that and get a few more doco series going out, and I'm really excited to see this Wallabies one, to see if we are going to see some characters. Eddie Jones, as terrible as it was last year, he brought a lot of news stories in, not all good. It was a circus, as we said, but there was a character there, and you either loved or hated him, and a lot of people turned up to hate him because he didn't deliver. But say he delivered, and say Aussies, you guys won the World Cup, the news stories that would have come out about Eddie Jones, then it's just things like that. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a coach, and it needs to be a player, but
Yeah, exactly right.
Let us know in the comment section. Let us know who's your favourite character in the game. Let us know, I guess, do we need more characters? What is the next doco series you'd like to see? Is another full contact? Would you like to see one on the Rugby Championship? For now, this has been Luke and Husey from That Rugby Podcast, hosted by The Sports Booth. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Peace.